Jay Sano without intro music. Jay Sano with intro music. Intro music remix. Jay Sano 19. Jay Sano 19. Jay Sano 19. Jay Sano 19. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It is Jeff again, coming to you from the Minecraft vanilla server. And today's an interesting day because it was my last night at work last night in my current position. My last night as a bedside nurse for a while. So it's kind of like a surreal feeling. Granted, I've gone through this once before because, you know, I left the bedside world and went to the informatics world in the past, and we have done the exact same thing yet again now. So starting Monday, I will be in the informatics department yet again, but that is a good thing. It's things are going to be good. I'm excited for the future and what the future has to hold and what's in store for me and my facility and all this stuff. But that being said, last night at a place, if you've never had the joys of experiencing the last night at a particular establishment, because some of you guys maybe don't have a job or are still on your first official job that you've ever truly had and haven't got to experience this before. I've had a multitude of jobs in my past life between, you know, McDonald's, restaurants, Ford Motor Company, bingo hall, like all these different places. I've definitely had last days at many different places and had many different experiences, and you know, some are good, some are bad. Sometimes it's a last day, it's awesome as the last day because you can't wait to get out of there, you hate what you're doing. Some of it's kind of a, you know, a sad feeling because you really don't necessarily want to leave a job and you love everybody you work with and everybody throws you a big party because they're going to miss you, but you're excited for the opportunities the future has to hold. Some of it's just a last day because you're physically moving and moving on to, you know, a different location. You can't physically have the job anymore. So there's lots of different reasons people have last days, but one thing that holds true, I can't say for everybody, but one thing that usually holds true for me is any job I've had that people really like me and appreciate me. They like to do nice things for you when you leave and throw you like mini parties or something like that at work. And luckily, people in my ICU, they really liked me and enjoyed working with me. So last night, they decided that, because I worked the last 2 nights in a row, and they decided that it would be a really nice gesture and something awesome. One of our techs, he's a cool guy. I really like the guy. His name's Alex. He said, "Hey Jeff, tomorrow I'm gonna, you know, plan. We're gonna get together and get a pizza party for you. You know, everybody chip in. We'll have pizza. We'll, you know, bring in sodas, pops, you know, all that stuff, and just have a good old time to celebrate." Oh, I forgot. Blame is on. I cannot sleep. That, you know, we'll get everybody in here. You know, donate some money and get some food. We'll just celebrate your last day. And I was like, yeah, sweet, sounds good, man. And so last night I got to work for my very last day, and it's funny when you're in a last day, no matter how much, like, because it's kind of a sad ending. I don't want to leave the bedside world, but it's, as I talked about in the video before, it's an opportunity that the timing is right now for me to be able to make a difference and make a change in my organization and be able to do some drastically good things for the future of nursing and healthcare and things like that. So I don't want to leave the bedside world per se, but you know, it's one of those things that I just can't pass up at the moment. And I'll probably come back to the bedside world at some point in the future. You know me. I like to keep things exciting. But I was like, yeah, man, that sounds awesome. Let's you know, have this party. So like I said, I got to work and I'm going through and I'm like, man, I got 12 hours left. It's really weird when you give yourself an arbitrary, it's not really arbitrary, but when you give yourself a countdown towards something, because it's, even if you're not necessarily excited about it, as in the fact of I can't wait to get out of here, it's just kind of more like wow, I have 12 hours left when I start the shift, as you know, in this position. That's crazy. Like, I don't know the next time I'll actually have a patient load of my own and things like that. But so I got to work and I'm like, man, there's 12 hours left, and you report on my patients and get everything going. And the guy who was organizing the party for me didn't come in until 11 o'clock last night. So I go in at 7 p.m. and he doesn't go until 11 because the techs do random, like, 8s or 12s depending on the day of the week. They for some reason don't let the techs do 36-hour weeks and do 312s and consider it full-time, they're in like a whole different union, and they have to do 40 hours. So they often end up doing 2 8s, 2 12s throughout the week to get their 40 hours in. And for those of you guys who are wondering what I'm doing, I'm clearing out some of this land because I started thinking about a beach resort. And granted, I might build one up to be like kind of on top of everything, but a true beach resort, I decided I want this place to have like buildings like straight up the coast and extend the coastline in. So it's like Cancun, and there's just hotels and stuff everywhere where people are all staying and having a good old time doing, party things. So that's why I'm sitting here arbitrarily clearing out this landscape, because I want to flatten it out some more and then be able to start building it up with buildings instead of grass and dirt mountains. But so the tech that was organizing this whole thing wasn't coming in until 11. So we're going. He gets there at like 10:30, a little bit early, just like normal. Not because of me. He didn't come in early because of me. He just came in early because that's when he got there. So he's like, okay, Jeff. He's going around and he was getting everything organized and what people wanted and started collecting money from everybody. And he comes up to me and he's like, oh wait. He's like, you're not paying. He's like, I got you covered, man. It's least I can do for your last day. Like, really nice guy, really awesome guy. And he gets everything organized, orders these pizzas. Bunch of pizzas get there, a bunch of people brought soda, things like that. So at midnight, he says everything should be ready to go at midnight, and we'll have this awesome party at midnight. Sounds great, right? Well, let me tell you what a shitty set of coincidences that had to happen yesterday, of all days. At midnight, everything goes off as planned with the party, except for the fact that I was not involved. My last day on the unit, they floated me to a different unit because it was, quote unquote, my turn to float, and there was a need on a different ICU. So this is weird. When you sign up at a hospital, I can't say all hospitals, my particular hospital, you work for a specific unit. I didn't know this when I went to the ICU because for the emergency department, there's no other places like the emergency department in the facility that you can just float to because they're short-staffed. There's multiple ICUs in my facility. There's 8 ICUs at my facility. They determine, even though they're all specialties in a different area, like mine's a specialty in surgical, mainly in hearts. We have ICUs that are special toward neurological. We have SICUs versus MICUs, which is surgical ICUs versus medical ICUs. And then we also have intermediate care units, which aren't quite ICUs, but they're too complex of patients for the normal floor. Oh, dang it. I'm going to have to hide somewhere. I can't do this in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. And I find this kind of weird because you go through a lot of training and a lot of orientation toward your specific ICU because you want to get down the equipment and stuff. You have to take classes for certain types of equipment that you're going to see on a regular basis in your ICU. And yes, we do have overflow. Like if MICU is full, we will do, if we have an open bed, we will take a MICU patient on and as a MICU boarder. So we still do end up having to deal with patients from all different aspects of the hospital, even though we're a specialized, ICU unit. And you can deal with like 1 or 2, but sometimes it gets hard because they seriously, the management side of scheduling and staffing looks at all ICU people as the same. And they float you if they have a need. If one unit has like an extra call in, but you have like an extra person or your unit can get by with one less nurse, they will just randomly float a nurse to that other unit and assume that you have the exact same skill set as all the other nurses, which can get a little bit dangerous. That was not the case last night. Last night was actually absolutely fine. I actually had a lot of fun floating too. I met some new people I'd never worked with before, and it was a good unit, and I had a good patient load. So, I mean, and that stuff worked out okay. Just the concept of it is very, very strange to me. But that being said, the way we do our floating schedule is, it's basically just, if they tell us that our unit is the one that's going to have to float because we have an extra person, then it's the person who floated last. So, or not last, excuse me, the longest ago. We'll go through periods of time where we float 1 to 2 nurses a night for like 2 or 3 weeks because scheduling on another unit is really, really bad, and we'll have an excess of nurses on our unit at the time. And then we'll go for months where we like never float anybody. Now, the last time I floated was back in January, and it happened to be a time frame in January where pretty much our whole staff floated within a 2-week period because we had just had a bunch of people off of orientation, so we were in theory extremely overstaffed for, the end of a scheduling period, and they just floated us constantly to these other units. I was the one who hadn't floated in the longest by 3 days compared to multiple other people on the unit. And when they came up and said they were going to have to float somebody, I was like, there is no way that they are going to float me on my last day and that nobody will. I'll just pull it from a survivor perspective. There's no way that they're going to float me on my last day, and nobody's going to jump in there and offer to take the float for me so I can enjoy my last shift. Like it was my birthday and I had a reward challenge that I didn't win or something like that. I'm speaking of Rodney. And I didn't expect anybody to jump in and say, Jeff, yeah, I'll float for you instead, especially since I'm next up on the chopping block anyway, so I'll either have to float today or, tomorrow they're going to end up floating me anyway. And if you floated today, you're not going to float for, until the whole staff cycles through again. Not really the whole staff that's on shift. You can get really unlucky if coincidentally you work with a bunch of people who are constantly floating, and then on days that nobody's floating, it's the same group of people, and some people haven't floated in like 2 years because they coincidentally work on days that don't float very often, and so they're constantly in the midst of holy crap, there's so many pieces of wood in this tree, and they're constantly in a group of people who just doesn't need to float. So it will be like they'll look at the thing and be like, wow, we haven't floated on this night in 2 years because there's really not usually a need on a Saturday night because the Civer will be closed and they'll have this whole extra bank of nurses to pull from. So the person who floated the most recently is, 6 months ago, and the person who floated the longest ago is, 2 years ago. Whereas you'll have some nights where it's like, oh, the person who floated the most recently was yesterday, and the person who floated the longest time ago was last week because everybody's floated in the last, week and a half. So it all can be the way that everything works out. But yeah, that person who's going to end up floating tonight probably because they were working again tonight and they're probably just as short staffed and going to need to float somebody somewhere else tonight. I was expecting somebody to kind of be like, okay, Jeff, I'll jump in and take this float for you so you can stay and enjoy your the party that's getting set up for you and just enjoy your last night. Nope. Nah, not a big deal. I didn't ask anybody to either. I was kind of just expecting it to, and I guess it gives me a new appreciation for Rodney and Survivor and what his thought process was on what people were actually going to do. But I took it like a man, and I went to this other unit. It was just really ironic to go, because I went to this other unit, and then somebody called from my unit to tell me when the pizza and everything was there so that I could come up and try to grab a slice at least in between, taking care of, the new patients that I had. Where are you going, buddy? You're running away with that thing. What's up? That was weird. Hello? Now he's angry. Hey. That was really strange. I really don't quite understand what he just did. But anyways. So somebody called me to tell me that, hey, Jeff, the pizza's here. Come grab a slice if you can. And when they called down to the other unit, they were like, somebody else had taken the message and passed it along to me, and they were like, "Pizza, what's going on? You guys having a party?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, why are you guys having a party upstairs? They were just curious, like, what the occasion was. And I said, actually, the party's for me, because today's my last day as, you know, a bedside nurse for a while. And they're like, and you had to float? And I was like, yep. They're like, that's pretty shitty. Like, nobody offered to take that float for you. And I'm like, nope. They're like, that kind of sucks. But whatever. Like, I really didn't want or expect anybody to. It's just a funny irony of circumstances that there is a party going on my unit. And when I say party, it's not like we're, you know, people aren't getting wasted and like playing loud music. We do parties, like we have pizza and sit in the break room, and, you know, we keep an eye on our patients still. It doesn't stop us from doing our work, but we just, you know, laugh and have a good old time, like which we'll do anyway. But it was, you know, it's a little bit different. And yeah, party going on my unit for me, and I was not even there. I snuck up there and was able to hang out for like 5 minutes, but then I had to go back down to the other floor because, you know, can't watch my patients from another floor that easily. Luckily, the patients that I had were very, very easy to take care of, and so it actually kind of worked out good from the patient care perspective if I wanted a relatively easy night, because besides having to have a bunch of patients just in general, like I admitted a patient before I left, and there was so much work that was supposed to be done on all my patients, but I had things organized and in line for the rest of my night. I then had to give up report on those patients and then go take a new set of patients and, you know, start all over with that. But it definitely made my night a lot more. After about 3 o'clock in the morning, it was like a smooth sit there, relax, have a good old time, and just kind of enjoy my last couple hours at the bedside right now. But yeah, it's just funny that the way that things can sometimes, you know, work out. You can plan things so meticulously and just never expect that, oh yeah, we planned this party. It's like if you planned a party for somebody and they called out and weren't even there. So you had all these things organized and ready and they weren't even there. Especially, can you imagine planning a surprise party for somebody who called in sick the day that you were throwing the party? If you had like things lined up, like a catered meal or something crazy like that, like how crappy would that be from the perspective of like, man, all that work like kind of down the drain and wasted because this person happened to be sick on that very day that all this stuff was supposed to go on? That would suck. Luckily, this wasn't quite the same. I still got to enjoy and partake in some of the festivities per se, but it's cool. I'll see these people again pretty much every single day, because now I'll just be at the hospital more than I was in the last couple of years. But, man, I am like making zero progress on this. And it is really hard to flatten out some land, isn't it? It takes a lot more than you think and realize when you're in the process of doing it. So, I can't tell you this is going to be work I'm going to do off camera, because I probably will do it on camera so I can tell you guys different stories at different other times. I do, however, want you guys to put in the comments some thought processes on some pranks that I could do on people like Beef or Guude or whatnot. I actually cruised over to Beef's area earlier just to check out his little housing complex and see if I could think of just being there, surrounded by it. Think of at the time anything. Oops, why am I doing that? Anything that I could do to have a nice prank going on, and nothing came to mind like right away. But I think you guys collectively can give me some great ideas, because I would love to pull off a prank on somebody. I just need the idea of the prank so I can start gathering resources and build up toward it. I don't want it to be too crazy and big and elaborate, because I just don't have time for that. But if you guys have anything good in mind, let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned, hit that like button, and I will see you guys in the next episode.